Hello, people and all other thingies. We are back with episode 4 of Robot Madness. It is only me this time, because I just want to get some of these episodes done with, and I don't really feel like waiting anymore. It's been it's been so long since we've gotten good progress on this. So this is what we're doing now. But we have the last episode here of the first round. We have Snowblind as the 1 seed in this region, by taking on Ripperoni. We have Pizza Time taking on Mako, Standalone taking on Red Baron, Stingray taking on Ribot, Rampage taking on Siren, Osprey taking on Mammoth, Cyclone taking on Dark Matter, and Hive Smash taking on Warbird X as the last match of this region. So this will be the last round before we end up going to the round of 32. We'll have to see how the higher seeds, if they can manage to take down the lower seeds that they'll be up against, but we'll see. And kicking us off, we have Snowblind taking on Ripperoni. This one is a highlighted fight because 116 seeds. Unless you're Krusty Grab, you should hopefully be fine if you're being a 1 seed. And this one, overall, not actually a terrible performance from Ripperoni in this one. They got a few hits, but in the end, they had some pretty bad wheelie issues, and really the shot there where they actually get on Snowblind weren't too effective. And eventually, they got flipped on their head, and on their head, couldn't get back on their wheels with the power of the spinner. So that did them in. Snowblind got a pretty easy victory there, kind of expected. But next we have Pizza Time taking on Mako, 2 veteran bots. They actually fought before, but Pizza Time took the victory then. I believe in Season 4, we'll have to see who can take it this time. Pizza Time with a much bigger scoop now, and Mako completely remade with some nicer paint job and hopefully a bit more of a powerful weapon with the stronger batteries in it now. Should be a pretty fun one. We'll see who gets the right to take on Snowblind in the next round. Gonna be a tall task for whoever wins this, but guess we'll just have to go down in the arena and see what happens. And now we're back down at the box for the first time today. Let's see who can take this one between the drum and the grabber. And already a pretty good start here so far for Pizza Time, using that big grabber to go down and get a good pinch. And they've got a decent hold there on Mako, but not able to do much with it. Mako, that drum's never been the strongest. I've already lost both those side handles, but they're magnetic. They follow off basically every single fight. See if they can get some good engagement there. They got some good speed. Pizza Time always been a bit slower, much more cautious with their approaches, kind of waiting to see and letting Mako come to them a little bit more. But now they're getting a very nice scoop in there and actually getting in a good grab for maybe like the second time in their existence. See if maybe they can bend that shark fin up on the top of Mako's weapon thing. But right now, overall, pretty dominant to display of control so far from Pizza Time, showing that Big Plow has got some good effectiveness in there. See if they can get some more attacks in there, but right now it's pretty one-sided right now in terms of the control battle. Have to see if some damage can start to get knocked in there with that drum for Mako, but right now the drum has been pretty much a non-factor. We'll have to see if maybe they can get something going, but that pit is still open, so it is always a threat. Actually, a good push back there, and that is going to put Pizza Time in the pit and give Mako an upset victory, especially after how it started. Wow, very impressive ending there for Mako. That was quite unexpected because they were being controlled pretty easily for most of the match. They really could not get around. Their longer sides fit perfectly into that big scoop of Pizza Time, and they were able to really control around the box and do whatever they wished with them. But eventually, Pizza Time, I think, just let their guard down a little bit, and right there you can see that little front plow underneath the drum was just able to get underneath, lift it off the ground, and all it needed was a good push. And it shows how that pit can play a big role. You just need one really good shove, and you can doom your opponent pretty severely. So that was a great performance there at the end for Mako, even after a bit of a rough start. And that'll notch Pizza Time out of the competition, give Mako a spot in the next round. And that'll do it for this section of the bracket. Pizza Time out and Ripperoni out, the 2 pizza bots, fittingly enough. Won't be fighting in the next round, kind of expected. But next up, we have a very fun matchup between 2 fan bots between Red Baron and Stingray.
With more Tony wins, it's always been easy for standalone to advance in Tony's galore. Standalone is 3 years old. He isn't getting younger, but he'll still beat you. Where's Mr. Shell Shark 2? And by the way, your robot's a disgrace. Look at Zinger kicking you in the face. Your robot's trash, and so are you, Penguin.
So it'll be really interesting to see how these bots do. Both pretty fun bots in their own rights, too. Very kind of simpler Whiplash mods, but still those whiplash mods are pretty dang effective, so have to see who can take the win here, and already both robots getting off to good starts. This is a very fast-paced start there for Standalone, getting that nice low wedge in. We've seen bots like Loki and Atomic Green with those low fronts being extremely effective. Maybe not as low as that front lip might be on Red Baron, and Red Baron is actually showing some great effectiveness right now, countering after that good start from Standalone, getting some really nice pushes in there, but now already being retaliated against back by Standalone. Red Baron off to a pretty solid start, same with Standalone really. They both actually had some very nice attacks and with both their respective weapons. Of course, Red Baron are quite a bit simpler, not too different in terms of the base weapon with those whiplash mods, but still with that extended lip could cause some problems, and they definitely have so far. Let's see how that side armor can hold up though, especially with those drums. Those drums, very, very good at catching robots with their little weak points and causing a lot of issues for them. Already there's a nice little attack, but so far Standalone hanging in there extremely well, but this is another very solid attack here by Red Baron, and if they can get a good control here and good push, if they can open the pit, this fight could actually be done pretty soon. They actually have the pit open, but can they get Standalone? They cannot. But a very solid sequence there. You have to think they might be barely on top here, but already there's a good flip there, and Standalone already getting right back to them. There's another two very solid flips and just pounding them into that wall back near that Danish flag. And they are really struggling here after that good start by Red Baron, having a bit more issues, but now they're very close to that pit and they got to get out of there, but they will not on the edge of that pit, and all you really have to think is Standalone just has to hang back, maybe nudge them in if they want to make sure that there's no way back home for them, and that's going to be it. Standalone pulls off the victory. A bit of tumultuous points there in that match for them, but in the end, they got the job done, and they had a very, very promising showing how effective that front hinge flipper can be. Of course, we don't really see too many front hinge flippers. We have Yeeter, and then we have Standalone, we also have Siren, and so far, two of them got their victories, with Yeeter getting the win as the 16th seed and Standalone pulling off this victory here. Going to be interesting to see how Standalone can do against maybe a bit more rugged and tested competition, but fair play also to Red Baron. They had a very, very solid performance here today, really showing that even if they were probably the underdog in this one by quite a bit seed-wise, they still put on a pretty good match, and good job, fair play to Chicken Strips. They get a very, very solid win there over their little rival in Penguin. So just like that, Standalone, very, very solid victory there. And now we're going to get to our second highlighted fight of the day, this one between Stingray and Ribot. And this is one that, I'm pretty sure this one had some, this one might be a bit controversial, but it was overall pretty even fight at the start, but the slow speed of Stingray was kind of a back foot for it, as the low forks on River were able to control it around, but due to a pit malfunction, it kind of led to it getting the pit being stuck up on the side of it, which we had an issue with a bit earlier in the day, but we just couldn't have time to fix it. In the end, though, the pit button was pressed, so I guess it's a take it or leave it. Pit button was pressed and it just didn't go down, but whatever you think, Ribot managed to win that match. Unfortunate for Stingray. Great career for them, but unfortunately this is where it ended. Stingray and Red Baron eliminated, and Standalone will take on Ribot in the next round. Now we get to the 2 seed of this tournament. We have Rampage taking on Siren. Rampage, of course, very, very dominant performance against Loki in the Season 7 tournament and managing to take them down with those low front forks, but those forks are gone. So it would be interesting to see how they fare here. Of course, they are taking on Siren, and these front-end flippers have done pretty good so far. So even though Siren is a 15 seed and very untested, definitely going to make it a bit of a difficult challenge for them, especially with that low front. We'll have to see if they can get one flip, because they just need one flip, and they could cause a lot of problems here. But already we're seeing that low front of Rampage coming into play. That's probably one of their biggest strengths, as well as that punishing drive they like to do, where their spinner gets in and can nibble at the bottom and really give these robots some problems, and they're having a pretty good go of it so far, but they have to be very cautious, because that Siren flipper, one drive up and one good attack, and they could very much be in trouble. But so far, they're managing their time very well so far. But ooh, there is a flip by Siren, and they are in a position where maybe if they can reposition, they could, but it's going to be an unstick. The unsticks are kind of suck, because that's just how I hit it. But that's just how it goes, and already some good attacks in here from Rampage again. They did have that brief scare, and it does seem like Siren at times is definitely being lower, so they have to be very cautious because Siren is proving that flipper is a threat, and if Rampage is not careful, they could be headed for a massive upset loss here. But it looks like another very good drive there. They're doing pretty well at managing Siren's responses and keeping them at bay, but they really do have to watch out because it feels like they're letting a lot of opportunities go Siren's way. But they are getting pushed back here once again. Pretty even so far on the scorecard. Definitely maybe a slight damage advantage to Rampage, but they're flipped up. And that is going to likely do unless they get free back, but Siren immediately flips them back, and that is going to be it. This is going to be a big upset as the 15 seed is going to take down the 2 seed Rampage, eliminated by Siren. Very impressive victory there for Siren. That was a very unexpected performance for another rookie. We've seen really great stuff so far from these front hinge lifters. They're good designs, people. Bring them back more. P1 should never have let BattleBots. But anyway, amazing performance there for Siren, especially against a very tough opponent in Rampage. Rampage, even with that new front meant to still keep that lowness and also that side protection, none of those changes mattered in the end because Siren was just able to get the low ground it needed at the 1 point, flip them up, and with no invertibility, they're just not going to fly in this competition. Amazing, very impressive performance there from Siren, and they're going to be moving on to the next round. So now we have Osprey taking on Mammoth. For Osprey, a bot from WT Dynamics, a very, very powerful vertical spinner. And they are going to be fighting the heaviest bot in the competition in Mammoth. This is going to be a very interesting clash of styles, with Osprey being a big vert with actually a lot of different configs. They're going to be going with their wedgelet config for this one, against Mammoth, who heaviest bot in the competition at over 200 grams. Going to probably be pretty hard for them to be flipped or tossed by that disc, but they do have a lot of juicy bits that could definitely be exploited here by Osprey, but that powerful drive of Mammoth is not to be underestimated. It's actually pretty dang strong. So this should be a really fun one. We'll see who can take the victory in this one between the 7 seed and the 10 seed, I believe, or maybe 6. I don't know what the heck it is. But already we are off, and we're seeing the drive of Mammoth having a few issues. It is known for being a bit wonky, and that big trunk is getting up to speed, and it seems like Osprey already going to do a bit of work on those TPU forks, but those forks are TPU, so even if they are bending, they will not be breaking, so it'll still act as a good method for controlling of Mammoth. Mammoth doesn't really have a ground game, but they just really are good at smothering with that big size advantage, so it'll be interesting to see how Osprey can approach this, because this is definitely a very unorthodox opponent for it to fight in its first match. It looks like Mammoth, though, getting some pretty good shoves in, and it looks like now that disc might be stopped or it's just jammed up. We'll have to see. Well, Mammoth doing a pretty good job of controlling, but we do have to be very careful because those wheels and those motors are pretty exposed to the side. But as long as they can keep their front pointed at Osprey, might be able to manage. But that pit is open. I don't know if Mammoth can even fit in the pit. I guess maybe if Osprey wants to, they can see if it does. Looks like they are in position to get a good push there. Can they get them in the pit? They're close, pushing back, and Mammoth is in the pit. Not fully in the pit, but, you know, that's close enough. That's eliminated. Fair play to Osprey. Didn't really showcase what that weapon can do at full potential, but in the end, very solid performance for them. They could have definitely gone a lot worse, especially because Mammoth has had experiences with some of these Witch Doctor-style bots with the controversial loss to Rampage in the main season. That suffocating style was overall pretty effective, but in the end, Osprey was able to just outflank them, outmaneuver them at the right time, and once that pit was opened, really just need a good push, like we mentioned before during this Pizza Time Mako fight. Fights can change in an instant with a pit like that, and Mammoth was not able to respond after that, and they have been eliminated from this competition. So Osprey is going to move on, and will take on Siren in the next round. It'll be a very interesting match between the front hinge and the big vert. Should be a fun one to see how Siren can respond to a bigger spinner and how Osprey can do against a weapon that's probably a little bit more effective. But now we get to probably one of my favorite regions of this entire bracket. We have what I have called the region of death, with several fan bots and some massive spinners. Cyclone needs no introduction, probably one of the strongest spinners that we have in this competition, going to be an absolute machine out there. But then we have Dark Matter, a fan bot from Oof Robotics sent to me for Robot Madness, and this is a very powerful over a Tombstone bar, similar-ish in a way to how Red Zone was, but it is a lot more durable with its arm strength, and it should provide a pretty good matchup for Cyclone. If we know Cyclone, they are... I'm pretty sure they're 0-2 actually against Red Zone, so maybe Dark Matter can replicate some of that success that Cyclone has not had versus those Tombstone bases. But it should be a really fun one, 3 versus 14C. We'll have to see if Dark Matter, as the underdog from a different channel, can come in here and pull off a massive upset. It's going to definitely be a challenge, though, especially with Cyclone being such a big veteran, and it still has those blindside blockers that it had in the Season 7 tournament. And the fight is underway. Both spinners getting up to top speed, and they're already getting some pretty good engagements in there. Have to see which of these ones can take the initiative and take the advantage. Cyclone, we know, does not like the big overhead bars given by the recent growth with blindside, but it'll be interesting to see how it does here. That pit, like I mentioned before, it has a few issues, so it's going to slide like that, but already some pretty good attacks getting in here from Cyclone, trying to force the issue here. Already some pretty good reliability also being showcased from Dark Matter, even though that disc it does look quite wobbly, but to its credit, it has stayed on, and it is keeping some attacks in there and trying to keep the pressure on Cyclone, keeping it from spinning up, and that was actually a very nice shot there. Definitely what they were looking for. I have to see if Cyclone seems like a little bit skittish with its driving, but it seems like with some good engagements there. Ooh, and there's a nice pop there. Popping back Dark Matter, maybe trying to get them flipped, and they have chipped a tooth out of Dark Matter, actually, and another big hit there. So after a good first attack from Dark Matter, it seems like Cyclone is finding its footing quite well. And Cyclone now, it looks like they're going back and they seem to go a bit more of a defensive strategy. That was actually a nice, good shot there from Dark Matter. Dark Matter, even though it's lost a tooth, and the blade is definitely a bit more unbalanced, it seems like they're still getting in some decent pops, although Cyclone does have a big advantage in that it's definitely hitting lower than this version of Dark Matter is. You can kind of see a lot of the hits pop up that Dark Matter blade. So Cyclone likely is going to be getting a bit more points in aggression and control, and there's a big shot there, actually, popping it up just like I was describing. So Cyclone, very even with both of these bots getting in quite a lot of shots, but it does seem like Cyclone is doing a pretty good job of forcing the initiative onto Dark Matter, but Dark Matter still definitely in this fight, and definitely trying to land some more big shots of their own. It seems like some hits, though, they do kind of whiff, and they're not able to get much of a sizable advantage, but to their credit, they do seem to be moving around a little bit better than Cyclone. It seems like Cyclone skids quite a bit on some of those turning circles, but still very even fight. There was actually a good shot to the back from Dark Matter, but unfortunately wasn't able to get very far. Cyclone still doing a pretty good job at landing the more effective shots, and there's another one near the back wall, and now landing some good shots there on the corner. Cyclone still a little bit slow, still a bit skittish, but they're definitely doing what they need to do to hopefully get this fight a win for them if it does go to a decision, which we really have not had too many decisions for this bracket so far. But Dark Matter push back, and that is going to be the fight. I didn't even know if the button was pressed, but like we said, with that pit being a little bit skittish, that's very unfortunate for Dark Matter. They were doing quite well in that match, to their credit, landing some pretty good shots onto Cyclone, but in the end, Cyclone just a little bit too much for them. Unfortunately, that pit, they just weren't prepared for it, but you know, that happens to a lot of bots here. Not exactly the most unique thing. Very, very fun match, though, especially with this bot coming in from another channel. They really proved how durable and how effective this Dark Matter can be, and this is one of the older versions of it, too. Would be really exciting to see how this one would do against my words are getting muddled up. Would be really fun to see an updated Dark Matter taking on the Cyclone. Overall, very solid performance for both bots. Cyclone wins its first tournament match in over 4 years. To its credit, fair play to them. Good job to Cyclone. So as Cyclone finally finishes off its victory drought, which is insane. It's gone back all the way to Season 1, I believe. It's a very long drought for them. But now we have Hive Smashing on Warbird X, the final match of this first round, and this should be a really, really fun one. Hive Smashing, of course, very impressive performance in the last season of Robot Chaos, making it all the way to the battle for the #1 seed, but then losing first round to Krusty Grab. But then we have Warbird X, which is a very powerful spinner in its own right, but they really really did struggle in the last season, and they definitely have some issues that hopefully they had corrected. I've heard that the controlling of the robot was definitely not where it needed to be, but it does seem like the process of controlling that spinner has been refined quite a bit, so even though Hive Smashing was way more impressive in the last season, Warbird is definitely not going to be a slouch in this one, especially when you consider it's got a metal weapon, which barely few other robots in this competition can sport, if any. But here we go, in the main event, essentially, of this final region, and already some big hits being exchanged here between these two massive horizontals. Let's see who can force the issue here. Ooh, a nice big shot from Hive Smashing, getting around to the side. Another one right there, ignoring and avoiding that hit from Warbird, and there's another nice shot there. Although they do have to watch out because that blade on Warbird could definitely snipe a pulley or the top of that spinner, and they have to very much watch out for their wheels because, ooh, there's a nice shot there. But those wheels could definitely be under target. And Warbird actually getting a lot of really nice shots in here after that opening flurry from Hive Smashing. And now it seems like they've slowed down their blade. That's fine. That's likely just a tactical thing because their blade does like to burn out a little bit after some constant hits. And we'll have to see how they can keep adapting. Looks like they're trying to swing around and get to the side. Ooh, that's a nice shot there. And it looks like, uh-oh, one of those wheels on Hive Smashing not looking too good. It seems like they're kind of stuck in circles. Now it looks like they're getting a little bit back in the groove, but that is a big worry there for Hive Smashing. It looks like some of those hits from Warbird on the wheel could be doing quite a bit of damage, and they land another shot there. So it seems like a pretty clear strategy right now being exerted by Warbird of targeting those wheels of Hive Smashing, hoping to maybe take one off or do enough damage. It seems like that blade is actually really well angled to get around to those sides, and it seems like Hive Smashing is the one on the back foot right now. With a bit of impaired driving, they still have a very powerful weapon, so if they can get some good engagement in there, then it definitely is a very winnable fight for them. But it seems like they're definitely struggling to land those big hits we've seen in seasons past. Definitely going to be a big challenge for them going forward right now. Warbird getting that big blade up to speed, and there's another big shot on those wheels. Warbird a strategy, and they seem to be executing it extremely well so far, targeting those wheels. But they do have to still be careful with that pit open. They've had their issues with the pit in the past. They're definitely no strangers to losing in that fashion. But they just got to keep that disc spinning and keep those hits coming. And if they can do that, they definitely can pick up this win. But they really do have to be careful here because Hive Smashing, any moment they could get a big hit that could disable something like we've seen in seasons past. They've killed the chassis of, they've killed the drive of 2 robots before, so it'll be interesting to see if they can do this. A wheel gone! The wheel is broken off of Hive Smashing, and now they only have 1 wheel left, and they have extremely reduced mobility. Major damage being dished out here from Warbird. We have not seen this, and they're taking off a few more pieces of Hive Smashing. Incredible job so far from that bar spinner after getting a no wins in Season 7. They're nearing them, and they've almost got them in the pit. See if they can get this. Oh, they're on the edge. Ooh. Very, very close call there from Warbird. Nearly hitting themselves into the pit and knocking themselves out of the competition. And after that, yeah, don't get away from the pit after that. That was a very, very scary moment there for Warbird. That was not how they wanted to end that match. But in the end, still some very dominant showings in the middle of that match. After a pretty good start from Hive Smashing, it seemed like the strategy started to take hold where they landed a few shots, but then they focused on those wheels, and one of them started to have issues about a little bit after a minute way through the match, and they just kept targeting it. A very well done strategy. One of the better strategies I think I've actually seen. That was perfectly executed, and then eventually it just rolled away, broke off, and just, there it goes. Incredible strategy. That is a first. I don't think I've ever seen a tombstone move break off like that in quite a while. And since then, Warbird, they just had to be extremely careful, but they almost had a moment where everything would have gone wrong. If they were just a little bit closer to that pit, they would have had probably the most unfortunate loss I think I've ever seen. But for Warbird, they managed to survive despite the best efforts of the pit and Hive Smashing. But we have a decision: 5 points damage, 5 points aggression, 5 points for control. Probably going to be a victory here for Warbird after that very solid performance, and it will be 4 points for damage for impairing that drive and getting the slight edge in aggression and control. Seems pretty adequate for how that fight went. Very impressive job for Warbird, and they are going to pick up their first win on the channel. And just like that means we have a massive fight set up in the next round between Cyclone and Warbird X. That is going to be an insane fight. I'm really excited to see how that one plays out. But now we're going to reflect on everything that's happened today. So first off, we had Snowblind, and they'll be taking on Mako in the next round. Should be a pretty fun one. Snowblind, though, with that big wedge, hopefully they'll be able to force their own issue, and they'll probably manage to break out a win, unless Mako can pull off something surprising like they did against Pizza Time. Ribot should have a pretty tough matchup against Standalone, but with those low forks they can get under, could cause some issues. Siren and Osprey should be another fun one between two robots who really have not fought much on this channel. Should be a fun one to see who can advance the next round. And then we have Warbird taking on Cyclone. That is going to be an incredible match between probably two of the strongest spinners that we have. And of course, there is the question of, with all of these brackets done, there's going to be a lot of really fun fights in the next round. The next two episodes will likely be hour-long specials with all of the round of 32 matches being in one, and then from the top 16 all the way to the championship being in the last episode. But thank you guys very much for this wonderful episode. Great time commenting, and see you guys all probably next week unless we do a break. I don't know. We'll have to see. Adios.